I'm Shay Conway, filming is Heather Sands, and joining me today is Mr. Joe Smothers. It is the 15th of April, 2010. Thank you, Mr. Smothers, for being with us today and sharing your memories.
Certainly my pleasure to be here.
Mr. Smothers, I understand that you were raised in Baltimore and attended high school at City College. What are some of your childhood memories that come to mind?
About City College, you're saying?
About City College and just your upbringing in Baltimore.
Well, as we talked about when you came to my home, I was raised in West Baltimore, and this was toward the end of the 50s, the early 60s. There was a real effort to really try to integrate the public schools in Baltimore City. So ever since kindergarten, there had been an effort to try to track students, if you will, to get them to go to some of the citywide public schools. City College at that time was one of 4 citywide public schools. It was City, Poly for boys, Western and Eastern for girls. I was geared towards City College because it not only has a tremendous academic program, but it had some of the best sports programs in the state of Maryland.
And you had said that you had participated in baseball.
I played baseball and basketball, primarily baseball. I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. But I went there and tremendous amount of great experiences. I still wear a City College high school ring. It's recognized all over the world. When I was in Vietnam, there would people come up to me and recognize the ring. I've been in Hawaii. Everywhere in the United States, you almost run into somebody from City College. But great experience, and that's where I met my basketball coach, Jerry Phipps. He attended and played basketball and baseball for Western Maryland College. Then it was Western Maryland, not McDaniel. And as we shared again at my house, he was a member of a program called the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and he and a lot of other coaches would go to these summer fellowship camps and sports camps. As a result of that, we got to know each other not only as a coach and a player, but I think as individuals. Jerry knew a lot of staff at Western Maryland, particularly people who had graduated through Western Maryland's physical education department. And this was probably 63, 64, 65. Western Maryland, I assume, was making a real committed effort to try to start integrating the campus. There were no African American students there at the time. And I was presented with the opportunity when I graduated from City to attend Western Maryland College. Initially, it was supposed to be an academic / athletic scholarship. And we had some concerns with the balance of the monies that I talked to you about.
Right. So upon graduating high school, you did receive a Senatorial Scholarship to attend Western Maryland. Would you tell us a little bit more about that scholarship and what your options would have been had you not received the scholarship, other universities, or the Vietnam War?
Sure. The Senatorial Scholarship was designed, again, primarily to try to get people to go into education to become teachers. And so state senators, each state senator from their district was able to award on a competitive basis scholarships to any school in the state of Maryland, as long as you decided to commit to X number of years to teach. As I said, originally, that wasn't a scholarship that was offered to me. It was a scholarship from Western Maryland's, I guess, their own funds, and some sort of athletic scholarship. That didn't work for us. I don't know what it costs to go to McDaniel now, but in 1965, if I had received that academic / athletic scholarship, the balance would have been more than what my mother and father make in a year. And so it just wasn't a viable option. And so even though they offered me that scholarship, I was going to go to Morgan State University. Most of the people in my community, that's where they went to school. It was just a financial issue. Good school. I enjoyed the campus. It was beautiful, all right, but it was just too expensive. So when this senatorial option came in, that made all the difference in the world, because It didn't cost me anything to go to school. But more importantly, I have a younger sister. She's 2 years younger. And it just meant that she now was going to be able to go to college. My parents weren't going to be able to send both of us to college at the same time. So that was a true opportunity in our family.
Now, I'm aware that you received this scholarship with another, a classmate of yours, Vic McTeer. He also received the scholarship and attended Western Maryland?
Right. I went to City College. Victor went to Forest Park. He was, I think he was a high school All-American in football, really outstanding student. And he attended that same fellowship of Christian athletes camps. That's where I actually met him. And so when the semester started that fall of '65, actually my father brought Victor and I both to the campus. Victor's father had died when he was very, very young, maybe 3 or 4 years old. And he had a beautiful, beautiful mom who just did whatever needed to be done to support him. And she asked my father, would you bring him up to football camp? And so we got to know each other, and we've become great, great friends. As a matter of fact, he is now my brother-in-law. He wound up marrying my wife's sister. So,
oh, wow.
So we've become great friends over the year, tremendous amount of respect for him. But again, it was the two of us from 1965 till about 67 before any other minority black students were on campus.
Upon arriving at Western Maryland, what was your initial reaction of Carroll County and Western Maryland?
Never been in Carroll County. My parents are from Frederick, so what I saw was very similar to Frederick. It was rural. I graduated from City College in a class that had 1,400 students in it. Western Maryland had 900 students in the whole campus. So it was very small. You knew you were going to get to meet everyone, very casual. And again, very different than what I was used to growing up in Baltimore City. The only time you actually really saw a lot of trees and things like that if you went to a park or a playground. So from that perspective, it was beautiful.
I'm aware that you were a member of Western Maryland's men's basketball team for all 4 years. What were some of the challenges of being a student athlete, and are there any memories you'd like to share about basketball and that experience?
Well, again, as we discussed when you were at my house, the biggest problem with basketball is that it was so more encompassing than what I was used to in high school. Basketball, they started almost the first day you were on campus in September. I think the season started early November, and it went all the way through March. But the greatest burden was that you had to learn how to study on the bus. I think you're from Lycoming College, with the Lycoming. So it seemed like 2 or 3 times a week we were getting on a bus and traveling 2 or 3 hours to go play a basketball game, play it, get back on the bus, and you'd get back on campus 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. So, you literally studied everything on the bus, science, biology, sociology, and hopefully sometimes there were seniors or upperclassmen who could help with some of your challenges academically. But academically it was tough because it consumed a lot of time. Yeah.
I've learned you also participated in ROTC at Western Maryland. Was ROTC a significant part of your education?
Very much so. When I grew up, career patterns were not as great as they are now. There was no such thing as computer information specialists and technologists. But one career path, particularly in the minority community, the black community, was to go in the military. You had uncles, you had brothers and sisters and families who had gone into the military and actually made a career. And you saw the impact that it had on their life. You saw the quality of life that they had from a financial perspective. And so when I got here, Western Maryland was a land-grant institution. So it meant that every male had to attend ROTC classes their freshman and sophomore years. It was mandatory. So you got college credit for it. And very quickly I began to really associate both professionally and from a respect perspective from the ROTC instructors. They were, in most cases, athletes. One of them played lacrosse, another one was a basketball player. And so again, there was a real connection between the things I like to do athletically and what they were doing in the military. So I guess after my sophomore year, I made a decision that I was going to get a commission in the United States Army. Only challenge was that you had a war going on. And so, again, it still sort of fills me up. Students that I started with in '65, in a couple instances, some of those guys that were seniors, they were coming back before I graduated. They had been killed or greatly maimed or something like that in the war. It became a real life experience. It really say, well, this is for real. This is not fun and games.
Mm-hmm. What did you major in while you attended Western Maryland?
Physical education major. I tell you, one of the things that probably stands out most with me of my 4 years at Western Maryland are the people that I met, three of which probably would be, again, Victor and McTeer, because, like I said, we went through a lot. We had to depend on each other. We had to support each other. Another person was Dean Ira Zepp. I mean, again, the first day on campus, Dr. Zepp just came over and hugged you and just told you if you needed something, he would be there for you. And he was one of Victor's football coaches, but just a quality individual. And I was just really saddened that I found out that he died this past year. And then the third person that professionally had a tremendous impact is Dr. Richard Clower. I think he's retired now from the physical education department. But as you know, I retired from Essex Community College as a full professor. Most of my beliefs, most of my philosophical leanings comes from the types of things I learned as being an undergraduate student in the physical education department that he was in charge of. So great deal of respect for him as an active addition.
What challenges, if any, were derived from being one of the first two African Americans to graduate from Western Maryland in 1969?
I guess the biggest challenge was a cultural shock in that, again, when I grew up in almost an entirely black community. When I went to City College, it was probably 60% white, 40% black. So there was diversity there, and you saw people who shared the same backgrounds, the same customs. When I got to Western Maryland, it was just Victor and I. And so you had people who really had come from some backgrounds that were totally foreign to anything I was used to. I remember one real challenge was when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. And there were some people on campus that I'd actually lived with, ate with, and again, real small campus, so you saw them all the time. Their personal reaction to his killing just absolutely surprised me. I mean, I was just amazed of some of the things they said, some of the things they did, of people that I thought I knew because I had lived with them. And so from that perspective, it just told me that you really need to do some homework sometimes. You just shouldn't always assume that because you see someone and they're in the same environment that they possibly share the same beliefs and attitudes, which they don't have to, but you just shouldn't automatically assume that. And so that really shaped a lot of my own personal views as to how you interact with people. You need to find out what's in their heart as opposed to saying they wear the same jacket or, they go to the same college that you do.
Just stemming off of that, what do you think you learned from yourself from attending Western Maryland?
Well, again, I understand that sometimes prejudices, sometimes people's beliefs are things that they've experienced, and hopefully I was able to grow from learning from where they came from and possibly understanding why they would have some of the beliefs that they had. In some instances, I know that people, because of the interaction that they had with Victor and I, with Wayne Carey, one of the other people I think you've interviewed, I think they were able to see black people not as a monolith, that we're not all the same, we're not all jocks, we don't all sing and dance and do things like that. And conversely, I don't make that assumption about people from other races or other religions. And so it helped quite a bit. Again, it helped me when I went into the workplace at Essex Community College. When I started there in '72, there was only 2 other African American faculty there. That part of Baltimore County, maybe less than 0.5% of that part of the county was African American. So again, trying to teach, trying to coach and work in a community that had very little interaction with black folks was a challenge. But again, I was used to it because I spent 4 years in that environment at Western Maryland.
Just going back to Vic McTier, I know that you guys, were very close. Do you feel that you yourself and Vic McTier paved and helped pave the way for more integration and diversity at Western Maryland in the following years after you left the college?
I would hope so. Victor and I, every summer, would go out and recruit students. I mean, we had a feel after that first year, academically and then also from the athletic teams, what they were looking for, but more so academically. And so we went out and we recruited. We went to Poly, we went to Douglas, we went to schools where we thought there were African American students who would benefit from going to a small college environment, and particularly students who had an interest in the pre-med or the dental programs or law. Again, in the 60s, those were extremely strong programs. And so, we did that. That's, I think, how a lot of African American students got here, because we went out and talked about the school. I don't know what impact we have. You'd have to ask somebody else that.
Do you feel like the faculty and the administration at that time helped you recruit and helped you diversify?
I don't know if they recruited, but I know that there were many faculty here who, again, showed the great spirit that they had for wanting to just help an individual. The Dr. Robert Jones just nurtured me in a way that was just unbelievable. I walked into his freshman chemistry class. His question, how many people have had 2 years of high school chemistry or 3 years of high school chemistry? I think one other student and myself were the only ones didn't raise our hands. We didn't have any high school chemistry. And so, again, just a good person, and we developed a real strong relationship through the years at Western Maryland, because he got to see me grow as a man. I think he was able to understand some things about diversity that maybe he wouldn't have experienced if we hadn't been here. But first and foremost, he was a good man, and I think he understood and found out that I was a good person also. So there were probably other faculty members. It's been almost 40 years, so in some cases I'm not remembering names.
Like you said before, you accepted a position in the physical education department at Essex Community College.
Yes.
A few years after your graduation. What was your time like at Essex? I know you touched on it a little bit before briefly, but could you just elaborate and tell us a little bit about it?
In some instances, it was very similar to Western Maryland. You didn't have faculty, you didn't have a lot of minority students, and again, you were in a part of Baltimore County where the people in their neighborhoods weren't coming into contact with a lot of diversity. And so again, you went out and you tried to recruit faculty, you tried to recruit support staff to diversify, because that's what you saw was happening all over the state and all over the country, as a matter of fact. There were challenges, yeah, but again, there were some people there who, like Dr. Jones, Dr. Clower, looked at the quality of a person's heart as opposed to just the color of their skin. The gentleman that I worked under, Dr. Andy McDonald, just a real pioneer in the area of physical education and community involvement. Did everything he could to support the idea of diversity and recruiting not only people of color, but making sure that women had an opportunity to play sports and do things in the field, which was probably back in the 60s was probably more male dominated. Saw a tremendous amount of growth there at Essex also.
I'm aware also that you spent some time on the board of trustees at Western Maryland College with Wayne Curry, you had mentioned before. Could you tell us a little bit about the board of trustees and your role as serving as a member on that board?
Again, it was part of, I think, Western Maryland's attempt to try to grow. I think Kurt Smoke, who was also a City College graduate, and he went to Princeton. Kurt was the mayor of Baltimore City. I think Kurt was on the board of trustees at that time. Kurt and Victor Mateer are best friends. And so Kurt recruited Victor Mateer to be on the board, but Victor lives in Mississippi. And so again, my name was raised as someone who might consider going on the board. And we had a conversation with the president and a couple of the deans, and I felt comfortable doing that. Again, as we talked about, one of the things that started when I was on the board, Western Maryland decided that we need to market ourselves a little bit differently, and they started looking into changing its name. Those were the efforts that eventually led to becoming called McDaniel, if I'm not mistaken.
Once again, I'd really like to thank you for taking your time, and we really appreciate you being part of our oral history interview.
I appreciate it. It's amazing that I look back and it's 40 years, and I drove up here today and didn't recognize where I was because I came up through the back way. Carroll County is really growing. You have a community college. I'm a tremendous community college advocate. I just think that it's a tremendous opportunity, provides a quality means of instruction for a lot of folks. One of my children went to a community college and got great education there. So again, I appreciate this opportunity, but Carroll County is completely different than what I recognized when I was here in the 60s, sure.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you so much. Thank you for that.